going to be right.
The Lollipop Guild over there.
I think I might just put the microphone up on a tripod and just disconnect it from the desk altogether, and just get it right one day and tape it to the ground or something.
That's what I've done until I bash it with my head when I walk in.
I don't know why. I know what's going to happen too is I'm going to do Windows Weekly later, and it's going to be completely wrong again.
Maybe your cat just comes in and just every night.
I think it's just precarious.
Anyways, unlike that fake show we had to record yesterday where we thought, if I don't know if there's a blooper reel ever coming from First Ring Daily, but we have an entire episode where...
Dude, our entire life is a blooper reel. What are you talking about?
I mean, that's probably fair. We recorded an episode because Paul had convinced me that the Surface event was yesterday.
Again, I convinced, strong word. I said something and you just agreed to it immediately. And but to explain, maybe I sort of promised that yesterday I would explain this. Here's the problem. For the first time ever, Microsoft has provided or did provide us with a full briefing about everything that's being announced over 24 hours in advance. So yesterday was in many ways a bigger day than today for us.
Right.
Because we got all the information. We got all the photos, we got videos, we got all the specs, And so in my head, because literally for how long has Surface been around? For 12, 10 years? Wow. I don't know. This has never happened. I mean, you learned about stuff that day, basically. Many times, most times, we learned about it just, well, in the days of public briefings. I mean, we learned about stuff as you did,
Mm-hmm.
So this is
what happened yesterday was we got the information in the morning, and Paul had convinced me that it was the Surface event was yesterday. So the first podcast we did, we just rammed through everything. It was like a 4-minute podcast because I was convinced that we had to have everything done.
We didn't have time. We had to get going. I was so stressed yesterday. I had so much work to do, and then I didn't.
Yeah, it was. Anyways,
so, I mean, I have just to put this in perspective. Yep. I have 9 posts. 9. And if I was like Neowin, I could have stretched it out to 18. I combined the specs and the photos in one post each, But, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of information. So,
well, let's talk about it.
Let's
so
step through it. Yeah.
Super high level. We have the Surface Pro 8, the Surface Duo 2. We have the Surface Go 3. We have a new SKU for Surface Pro X, and then there is the Surface Laptop Studio. I want to keep wanting to call it the Studio Laptop. It's Surface Laptop Studio, which is the spiritual successor to the Surface Book. Because it doesn't sound like, based on what we had heard, it doesn't sound like there's going to be a Surface Book 4. This is...
Oh, no. Let me confirm that 100%. Yep. It is the success. There is no Surface Book anything coming. Yep. This replaces Surface Book. Yep.
So those are like the super high level announcements. And then... There's a bunch of other stuff. There's a new mouse that was made from like 20% recycled plastic out of the ocean that Paul's thrown in there. They updated the Surface Pen. So there's a Surface Slim Pen 2.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Surface Adaptive Kit, which is an accessibility pack that you can physically apply to like keyboard.
It's kind of like stickers and stuff, so you can put tactile
labels.
Feedback on things and colorful labels. Yeah.
Yep. And so those are, I mean, that's it, Paul. Like, I don't know why they have an event. We did it in 38 seconds.
So, okay. So here, look, here's my, let me blow away my premium post that's coming out later today. How you view what Microsoft is announcing today, I guess is subjective. I don't know. But look, this is nothing but good news. Yeah. Nothing but good news. And the thing I'll say about Surface is there's been lots of ups and downs, right? I think the last big Surface event was that Surface Pro 4 Surface Book thing, which kind of turned out to be Surface's Longhorn event because the whole world fell apart after that with Surface Gate and all the reliability problems.
Yeah.
Since then, Microsoft has moved very slowly with its hardware. It refused to embrace Thunderbolt. It was super iterative. It's been using the same Surface Pro design since 2014, I think, with Surface Pro 3. It's been tough. Surface has prided itself on creating new form factors when in fact it has never created a successful form factor. It didn't invent the tablet form factor. I don't know where that myth came from. These things existed before, but okay, fine. I think the important thing about what's happening now is In fact, I'll just frame it this way. If you look at something like Windows 11 for software, Surface is doing that for hardware. And what I mean by that is it's the fresh and familiar thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the weird paradox of we're going to iterate, not blow out innovate, but we're going to innovate where it matters the most to actual customers. And I think that stuff's important. So you could look at any one of those products and say, well, what was wrong with it before? And you can see how they're fixing it now.
Yeah.
Surface Laptop Studio. What was the problem with Surface Book? It was the stupid screen that came off. That introduced horrible reliability problems. And I think you just said this yesterday. You put the primary components in the screen.
Mm-hmm.
By going to more of a traditional laptop design with a pull forward display like Acer and HP and others have done in the past, not a new form factor, right? You have the same functionality, basically, right?
Yeah.
The tablet's thicker, but the components are in the base. It works better, solved a reliability problem. Bam, beautiful. Surface Pro 8. We've been stuck on this 12.5, whatever inch screen since 2014. 13 inches, right? Thunderbolt on the other one too, by the way.
Yep, Thunderbolt 4 to be clear.
Yep.
Yep.
A thinner, lighter, better looking form factor. Integrated pen well, like you see on Surface Pro X with the Surface signature keyboard or whatever they're calling it. Surface Go 3. What was the problem there? Performance. Oh, bam.
I don't know if they solved the performance on the Go 3. Well, maybe.
Well, I mean, compare for what it is, right?
For what it is, yes.
You can still buy a piece of crap Pentium version if you want. That's how they're hitting the $399 price. But now there's a Core i3 version. It's 10th gen. It's Windows 11 compatible. Perfect. Not bad. Perfect is strong. Even Surface Duo, not a Windows device, but that one, there's a litany of problems. They haven't solved all of them, but they fixed the camera, the performance. Well, presumably we don't have one yet, but some of the other issues. They haven't solved the price. It's still $14.99. What was in dual screen? Whatever. But it's a dual screen device. It is what it is. So the screen's a little bigger.
Yep.
It still has bezels, obviously.
8.3 inches.
8.3 inches. So, the only thing
camera setup. Don't forget the triple cameras.
Okay. Thank you. That was the other big one. Yeah, cameras. NFC for mobile payments. So all of this stuff is like, you could say, oh, they're not innovating. They're iterating. They're doing what they should have done years ago. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. But they are doing it. And the things that they've added are those things that matter the most to customers. The reason Surface hasn't necessarily done that great in the market is because it didn't have this stuff. So this is a win-win and good news all around. The only major product that didn't get updated was Surface Laptop.
Yep.
And that is arguably the one that was in a good place, right?
Yeah.
Even though it was previous Gen AMD processor on that side, it was still a good, I think, 4,000 series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is my primary travel work laptop is the Surface Laptop 4. It's great.
Yeah. So that one, they'll get there, and maybe they'll apply this thinking to future devices. Maybe we'll finally get that Surface display we've been pining for years, especially if Surface Studio goes away like I expect it to. So there's so much. God, it's like dust in my eye. I've been cleaning in here so much. I think literally dust is falling from the ceiling.
He's just so emotional, folks. Don't let him. Thunderbolt 4, it's really here.
And it is there, right? Surface Laptop Studio. It's not a Surface Go 3, I mean, obviously. And I think we can assume Surface Laptop 5. It should be the same device it is today.
Yeah, just
but with
slap Thunderbolt
5,000. AMD, they can't do Thunderbolt. So maybe that's the issue because it's a dual processor. We'll see. But at some point, AMD is going to have to be able to adopt USB 4 or whatever, or 5, and get that. So, we'll see what happens there. But was there anything that struck you as odd, or off, or wrong, or bad, or
there's two things. One, my biggest problem with Surface Duo 2 has nothing to do with it. It's the software. Microsoft never put the new version of Android on the Surface Duo. And so it's effectively about 12 hasn't released yet, has it? It's almost two generations behind. And so what's
launch with?
What
will Surface Duo 2 launch with?
Right. And so the question becomes support for Surface Duo 2. So that is, it's $1,500. You should be getting at least 2 years of updates, no questions asked. We don't know if that's the case yet.
Yeah, so about that in their stuff. So yeah, you're right.
That's the big one. And it doesn't ship with Thunderbolt 4, so they're breaking continuity across the board.
So interesting. Surface Pro 8 is aluminum now. It's always been magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of odd. That means it's coated. Painted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless it's well, I guess maybe it's a natural color. So hopefully it's not painted or coated. That's been a problem with Surface Laptop. You can scratch those. Um, that ocean-bound plastic
Mm-hmm.
recycle thing. Dear God, Microsoft. Every laptop maker on earth is touting their recycling stuff along those lines. Every product from HP, Lenovo, Dell, whatever. They talk it up, talk it up, talk it up. It strikes me as odd that Microsoft would release a mouse that has that name in the name.
Yeah.
Like what they've basically just called out is that none of our products use recycled materials except for this one mouse. And it's like, guys, everything you make should have as many recycled components as possible. And every time you iterate and release new versions, that number should go up and up and up. And this, unfortunately, betrays how far behind Microsoft is from the mainstream PC makers. I'm super excited about everything they're doing, but I kind of wish they had announced this mouse, because all it really does is highlight that they're not talking recycling in anything else.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So it's possible, maybe the move to aluminum is tied to this, that there's more aluminum recycled material in the world. Maybe you can't recycle. I don't know how magnesium works. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm sure you can recycle it to some degree, but there must not be much of it out in the world. So maybe this is something they're moving toward. But unfortunately, they've shown a spotlight on something that I think is kind of negative, which is too bad.
So a couple things on the I call it like a workstation. I mean, that's effectively what it is, the laptop studio. Two things to point out. One, correct me if I'm wrong, the Surface Book used a Y series processor, and the new one uses H.
H. This is a huge improvement.
Right.
Not Y series. Sorry, U series.
U series. That's what it was.
Yeah.
U series. Yep. So we've got that. So you've got performance improvements just through that. What about that base? Have you seen this? Have you seen a side profile of this thing?
Yeah. You worried about the thinness of it?
Well, it's like thin, and then there's like a step down design. It's like it's sitting on like a laptop cooler. It's
an H series processor. I think the right thing to do here is to compare it to mobile workstations, right?
For sure.
And what do those things look like? And look, one of the problems, Surface Book was released before Surface Laptop. And when Surface Laptop came out, it was like, I mean, this kind of addresses the laptop need, obviously, right? So how do you differentiate between these two things? You either get rid of Surface Book altogether and you offer a Surface Laptop with some kind of a dedicated graphics, which they've never done, right? Yeah. Or you do what they did do, other than the screen detach thing, and you release a kind of a thicker, bigger, more like truly more powerful, and something you can device, and something you can say, hey, this is a mobile workstation, right? I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but I want to say there are different configurations between the consumer and commercial versions of almost all these products, by the way. But on this particular product, it's some kind of an NVIDIA 10 something. I don't remember the exact number. 1030.
There's a RTX 3050 Ti, and then the Enterprise gets the RTX A2000, which is
okay. I would have completely botched both those numbers.
Yep.
Okay, so they're aimed at different markets. You might be able to make the argument that the consumer version is sort of could be considered a gaming mini, sort of almost, not so much the commercial one. But then the commercial one is going to be aimed at those apps that you can get certified for, the Adobe apps, the Autodesk apps, all that kind of stuff. So, compared to, trying to think, the ThinkPad, I can't remember the name of it, the Elite or whatever it is, the mobile workstation, the Z series stuff that HP puts out, and HP puts out, honestly, the one I had was a really low end version, but they have really more powerful things that are much bigger. I like that they split the difference between the screen sizes, by the way. There used to be 13.5 and 15, and now I think it's 14.4. So it's kind of like, well, just, land it right in the middle. I think that was smart. I just like that they differentiated it from the laptop better.
Yeah, they did.
And I think that was smart. And honestly, the starting price, like $1,600 or whatever for that machine.
So that will come with the Iris XE or whatever they call it. Graphics.
That's fun. That's actually kind of one that I would consider getting.
Yeah. Up to 2 terabytes of storage on that thing. You can jack that price all the way up to the moon. it just if $1,600 you're like, oh, I've got some more budget in there. Microsoft will take it. They have many SKUs for you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. All you can do is quibble about some of the stuff. I mean, it's the biggest quibble would be what took so long. I mean, we've been asking this question for years, but
the other interesting thing that appears that they are doing is it looks like they're starting to standardize 120 hertz displays across at least their more premium stuff. So the Studio or the laptop Studio has it, and the Pro 8 both have 120 hertz refresh rates, which is a big deal.
So that's confusing. There's also, I believe, the Surface Duo 2 has a 90 hertz display, if I'm not mistaken. Microsoft doesn't use the terminology adaptive refresh rate anywhere, I think on the Duo. And on the Pro, I believe it's configured to go 60 hertz by default, and maybe 120 is something you have to turn on. My only worry there is, I just don't know based on the material they've provided so far, is whether the displays actually adapt conditions, which is something advanced displays do. Apple talked about that when they finally hit 120 on the new iPhones, like the one you're going to get. Will go from probably 1 to 120 or whatever, and that's what you want. You want that kind of a thing. You see that in phones. I suspect the new Surface devices are fixed refresh, and you can choose between 60 and 120. That's my guess, but I
would imagine. I mean, you can do that already with most monitors that support it, but it's in the display settings. You just got to pick it in the drop down, and then.
Exact setting, except now it's built into the integrated display. So that's my guess. But fog of war, whatever. We'll find out more.
Yeah, we'll have more. There's a lot to digest, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the little show. I mean, this is a pretty big overhaul to a lot of Surface stuff.
Not to mention yesterday's complete screw up, which you were completely in partnership with me on. Bastard.